Alright guys, so this week we are looking mostly at transformations. You should have already done the symmetry section. So let's talk about the different types of transformations. Now, there are 4 types that we're going to talk about. 3 of them are called rigid transformations. The idea that the shape might move, but it doesn't change size. And then there's a 4th transformation we're going to talk about that is not a rigid transformation, where the shape does change sizes. So the first one we want to look at, the first transformation, is called translations. Now, the idea of a translation is that you're taking the shape and you're sliding it in a different direction. So in this case, we have our original shape, ABC, the pre-image, and then the image is A prime, B prime, C prime. So notice this is my original shape. Notice how the A, B, and C don't have this little mark next to it. We call that mark when we're talking about translations or rotations or anything like that, we call that prime. So A prime, B prime, C prime. Now, this is really important because our shapes always start with the regular letters and then end up with the primes. So if you run into something where you've got primes here, that means it's the new movement. And then sometimes if you're doing multiple movements, you'll see double prime or a double prime with 2 of these little prime marks instead of just 1. So the first one is translation. It's really simple. It's probably the easiest out of all 4 of them. You take the shape, you slide it, boom, you're done. The second of the transformations is called rotation. Now, with rotation, what happens is our shape gets twisted. Now, if you're thinking about this, right, so this has been rotated around this point right here. So I've got a point right there. It's been rotated around that point. Now, if you're thinking about this, right, there's probably 2 different ways for us to get there. You could have gone this way to rotate your point, or could have gone the whole way around. Well, which way is right? Well, technically they both are. As long as we have the proper negative or positive with our rotations, which we'll talk about when we get into rotations, either one of these works. Just so that in case you're curious, this would be a 90 degree rotation, but it's actually a negative 90 degree rotation because we're going clockwise. This would be a positive 270 degree rotation because we're going counterclockwise. So that's rotations, the idea that we're taking the shape around some point, whether on the shape or not, and we're rotating it. The third one is reflections. Now, a reflection takes the shape and just like a mirror is going to reflect it on the other side. So say this was B here, this would be B prime. So unlike rotations where these bottom 2 letters might switch as you rotate them, these actually just flip. So you might end up in the same place as a rotation, but it might change where your B and B prime, things like that go. But the idea of a reflection should be pretty obvious. All right, so those are our 3 rigid transformations: translations, rotations, reflections. There's one more that we need to talk about, and that's dilations. The idea of a dilation is that it's the same shape, just bigger or smaller. This word dilations also we use when we talk about eyes. If your eyes dilate, so if you're in a dark room, your eyes dilate, they get bigger, that circle gets bigger. It doesn't change shape. It's not like it turns into a square or a triangle. That'd be kind of creepy, right? But the circle gets either bigger when we're in the dark or really small when we're out in the sunlight, so your eyes are dilating. So same thing here. Dilations means a change in size, but it preserves the shape of our original piece here. So those are our 4 main ones. Now in this video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at translations and look at your assignment on Khan Academy real quick. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the Khan Academy work and see what it's going to look like. There's 2 assignments on translations. The first one should be really easy. Now, we did not assign any of the videos. The reason we didn't is because they're kind of long and sometimes a little bit involved. But if you ever get stuck, say you don't know how to do this problem, you can always say, I'm stuck, watch this video, use a hint. So in this case, I have this point D was at 7, 6, and notice D prime, that means the place we moved it to is at 7, 1. So how did I get from the point 7, 6 to the point 7, 1? Well, I noticed my Y values, they went down, didn't they? They went from 6 to 1, so it's a translation of 5, not negative 5, but 5 down. So we went 5 down, and let's check that, and sure enough, okay? Now, Here we have an actual shape. Notice once again, you have to pay attention. What is my A prime, B primes, C primes, all that stuff. All right, let me actually zoom in a little bit. Might be a little easier to see. So once again, I'm going from this A point to this A prime, so I might take a look and say I went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'd say, okay, I went 8 units to the left, 5 units up, something like that, okay? What I would like you to do is I'd like you to get 4 in a row right for each of whatever it says. If it says 4 in a row, get 4 in a row right. If you get less than 4 in a row right, you might need to restart the assignment or finish however many you have and then restart the assignment. But I am going to grade this for accuracy. So you get multiple chances to get all 4 right. If you get it wrong, you can just restart. They're easy enough, and it's not too big of an assignment. Here's your second translation activity. This one's a little bit more challenging. This time we get a shape. The blue shape is my original, notice no primes, and they give us this green shape here. And they show us this original shape and tell us to translate it 3 units to the right, 4 units down. So one way to do this, there's multiple ways to do this. One way that I like to do this is I like to match my green shape up on my blue shape. And then I go ahead and do the transformation for each point. So this C goes 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, and 4 down. 1, 2, let's give myself a little more space here. 3, 4. Same thing for B. 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I did it right, it should look like my original piece here. And that does look right. So let's just double check. 3 to the right, 4 down, that looks right. All right, very good. All right, so I want you to do those 2 on translations. It can be a little bit tedious, but I think that this shouldn't be too much work for the translation part.